Welcome, this is Nathan, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where South Korea forms an empire. Finally, I am caught up on all the countries, major countries in the world, that I should have done, like, the beginning of this series. We've done Australia, we've done Canada, we've done China. The only country left I think I should really do before I let you guys have, like, free will and choose what empires I should do next is Indonesia. I think Southeast Asia as a whole, I haven't done a lot of countries here. I think Philippines and Indonesia are probably actually going to be the next two empires. And then we're actually going to take our focus out of this part of the world, and we're going to head back over to maybe, like, Africa. Because I've still got a couple countries left here that I want to do. But other than that, I haven't... There's a couple left in Europe, like Serbia and Bulgaria. Sorry, that poor guy. That's for Serbian Empire. He probably doesn't even watch my videos anymore. He asked for Serbian Empire like years ago, and I still haven't done it. Again, we will eventually do every country in the world. Well, every country in the world that is physical to do. I'm not doing the microstates. That was meant to be its own mini-series, but I cancelled it because it didn't do too well. But anyway, South Korea, that's the point of the video. So, like Japan, South Korea's in... Well, I think South Korea's in an even worse spot than Japan was. If South Korea wanted to form an empire, there would be literally no physical way they could. North Korea would activate China and Russia. Japan, stronger. Taiwan, that would activate China. The Philippines would activate the USA. So what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to ignore all that. This is probably going to be the most unrealistic empire video yet. We're going to buff South Korea, like, maybe not a bunch, but we're definitely going to buff South Korea. And South Korea's first target is going to be North Korea. Yes, I know, China would definitely get involved, I know. But, there is literally nowhere else they can go. So South Korean troops will enter into North Korea to take over the country. Their main focus being Pyongyang, as they will take over the coast area of this area, surprisingly finding very open arms in all these cities. They eventually will get up to Pyongyang and will capture it. Now, North Korea does attempt to set off their nukes, but they fail, and they end up blowing up the capital, well, the area where Kim Jong-un is, and he ends up dying because of himself. With that, North Korea is basically, well, yeah, let's take a look at this peace treaty. In the peace treaty, North Korea will be fully annexed into South Korea. No mercy shown. No mercy shown here. I don't think North Korea, damn it, I don't think I want to do a North Korea Empire video. I don't even know if that would do well. Anyway, with South Korea now being Korea, I feel like I can call them Korea now because they have taken over North Korea. Where do they go from here? I can guarantee you I'm gonna actually include that if they invade Taiwan, China will definitely get involved. China's upset they invade North Korea, but again, China didn't get involved, so there's no point. But, there's Japan. That would be one hell of an invasion. Good luck. I don't think you're gonna be able to do that. And then there's the Philippines. Yeah, that's where South Korea's going next. Before South Korea invades one of their strong neighbours, they decide that it's probably best they invade the Philippines. I am sorry whoever likes the Philippines, they have just been getting bullied the past couple of Empire videos. They will get there soon, don't worry. Anyway, South Korean troops will land in the north of the country and begin pushing down to Manila. And this is a very bloody war. Like, this is South Korea's bloodiest war yet. Well, for now. And they begin pushing down to Manila. Once they do reach Manila, well, they're not actually near it. Hold on. They will continue pushing down until eventually they will push down the coastline and will take Manila, which leads to the fall of this island. And from here, we just see them kind of hopping around these islands, taking them over, like the major islands. But eventually, after taking over all these major islands, South Korea, Philippines will surrender. Let's take a look at this peace treaty. And in the peace treaty, to probably the shock of a lot of countries, South Korea will not be fully annexing the Philippines. That is not the priority they have. South Korea simply isn't in the right. I wouldn't say they're in. I mean that they're not in a good state to really fully annex the Philippines, and they're not. The empire's not that big yet. But at this point, South Korea thinks it's time to try the luck against one of their three powerful neighbours. Now, where did they go? Oh my God, no, they did not take over Russia. No way. They could attack Russia. That would be very interesting. China, I think he would get stomped. Even with Korea being buffed, I still think China would stomp Korea. And then Japan. Yeah. Korea's going to be invading Japan. Now, I will mention that this has probably been about, if we're being legit, it's probably been about 5-7 years since Korea invaded the Philippines, because it would take a lot of preparation to invade Japan. But, I can't really do that in a video, so Korea's first target will be to capture Nagasaki and Hiroshima, but, really the first target is to take over the southern island, which they land in and begin to take over. I think Nagasaki, I don't know where's Nagasaki and Hiroshima are, don't bother me about that. Ooh. Now, this island is undefended, and they are able to take over the entire thing successfully. With this, they begin the next operation, which is to take over this island, which also goes successfully. Oh, Jesus, no, they did not take over the ocean. And here we see South Korea make a landing in the Japanese Isles, and they begin pushing up around Japan, and will actually begin pushing over to Osaka, which is their next target. But here is where they are able to encircle a big amount of troops over here, which they take out. But this is where they can't push forward. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to do another naval landing in Hokkaido. I actually know the name of this island. I think it's Hokkaido, right? Now, this was a complete surprise, but Japan will be quick to reinforce this island, basically stopping Korea in their path of taking over the entire thing. And here we see a battle for Osaka, which has taken a lot out of Korea. They tried to take Osaka, they're not successful in it. And then we see them make another naval landing over here in this little tip. This goes successfully, and they're able to take over this entire coastline. But here we see them having to make peace with Japan, because, nobody's gaining, nobody's losing. So let's take a look at this peace treaty. As you can see in the peace treaty, Korea will be annexing this, half of Japan, maybe not half, but they are able to take over, I would say, some important areas. I don't think they took over Osaka. If they did, gotta give it to them. That is a huge game, and no matter what, this is going to be a huge power game for Korea. And it kind of makes Korea a bit, what's the word? Cocky? I don't know. It makes Korea, a bit, the leader of Korea, extremely overconfident. And you're going to see this, because only about a year after the Korean-Japanese War, Korea declares war on Russia. Now, they do have some allies in this. This wasn't let's invade Russia because we just took out Japan. They have some allies, and the reason Korea's doing this is because Russia is a massive country. They believe if they take over... Korea believes if they take over this area by here, and maybe a bit of Siberia, Russia will not be bothered to send troops all the way over to there. Now, who the allies they have been able to pick up for, this war? Well, to begin with, the first ally, they're not really allies, Ukraine is one of them, Finland is another, and Georgia is another. Now, I will be straight up honest. Yes, Russia's got Belarus in this. Look, it can't really be a war without Russia having Belarus. I feel like any war that Russia's involved with is gonna have Belarus in it. Now, sorry for whoever is hoping these two will win. They're not gonna win. Russia will absolutely just delete Georgia. Oh, that's not the right thing. Russia will absolutely delete Georgia, and, I'm going to show you what happens to Ukraine. In this world, the Ukraine isn't getting funded. Now, Finland is holding a stalemate with Russia, so that's not going to move. But while this is happening, we're going to come back over here to Korea, because they're actually doing really well. Now, they expand out from this tiny border they have, and they begin to expand out from here. And this is definitely going to be a lot. Like, Jesus Christ. So, they begin pushing up this land, taking over as many major cities as they can. They begin pushing up, taking over more major cities. And the goal is to just take over this land before Russia gets here. Now, if China were to join this war, Korea would be screwed. If China joined the war, Korea is absolutely screwed. Just gonna say it. So Korea will continue to push up. They'll end up pushing around the coast, reaching Sakhalin. This is where they're going to take over Sakhalin. At this point, they've kind of taken over the most valuable lands. I mean, yeah, they've taken over the most valuable lands from this part of Russia. Now, Russia's not focused on this, which is kind of bad, but not really bad. Korea does claim, tries to claim that oh god, no, they did not take over. Oh, Jesus Christ. Korea tries to claim that they took over all of Siberia. They did do some military action in, this area, but they didn't exactly take over all of it. But anyway, back over here to Ukraine, where it's not going well. Ukraine is getting absolutely slapped around by Russia. Again, in my eyes, if Ukraine wasn't getting funded by NATO, I think Ukraine would get absolutely steamrolled by Russia. And Ukraine is going to surrender, trying to hit their country, and Finland's just going to leave the war. Russia can't get through, Finland can't get through, nobody's going to win. It's going to be like the Winter War. So Russia's now sending troops over to Korea, and when Korea realizes this, they're like, okay, time for plan B. Korea sends a kind of an ultimatum, but they send a peace treaty over to Russia saying, you take what you've got, we take what we've got, and we'll all be happy. And Russia looks at this and goes, sure. And the reason is, it's going to be really tedious to move troops all the way over to this part of the world when Russia's already taken over Georgia and Ukraine. They're going to gain probably more economy than if they were, they're probably going to gain more than lose. So let's take a look at this peace treaty. And in the peace treaty, ignore the border goal, that will be fixed very soon. In the peace treaty, we can see that Korea takes over this part of Siberia. They take over Sakhalin and also this area of land. I completely forgot to colour in these islands. Oh my god, stop! They haven't taken over. Oh my god. They also took over the Kuril Islands, which might be towards what their next move is. But anyway, coming over to Europe. Okay, I mean, it's no point really. But yeah, Ukraine gets crushed and Georgia's fully annexed, but just ignore it. I forgot to do it. Anyway. What's the next plan of action? Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we're finishing off Japan. So, yeah, Japan is weakened. And I would like to mention that Korea completely surrounds them, which is going to lead to Korea having naval superiority over Japan, which is going to lead to a naval landing right by Tokyo, which actually takes the city. I don't know how somebody would be able to occupy Tokyo. I just realised, when you think of it, it would be really hard for any country, even the USA or China, to take control of a city like Tokyo or Mexico City or London. I'm just going to get this over with. Japan would fall, but it's really interesting because Tokyo, even Beijing and Shanghai, it would be so hard to keep control of a city that big. In my eyes, it's impossible to keep control of a city as big as Tokyo or something like that. And yes, in the peace treaty, Japan is fully annexed. Now, is Korea done? Oh my god, I keep accidentally filling in the ocean. Is Korea done? No. They're not pleased. Yes, they've taken over, they beat back Russia, they took over Japan. This looks more like the Japanese Empire. It's Korea, it's not Japan. But Korea, again, the Korean leader is overconfident, and he makes a move which could be dumb. Yeah. Now, he has got some allies. And when I mean allies, I mean, like, some strong allies. He was able to pick up India and Vietnam, but, you know, it couldn't be a war with India involved if, you know, good old Pakistan didn't get involved. And also, we have Laos joining the war, because Laos, I think Laos has good relations with China. Oh, yeah, I think Taiwan would also actually get involved in this. That might make Korea a bit mad, but I don't think Korea has any interest in Taiwan at this point. Anyway, it's time for a Chinese gangbang. Korea is not in a good spot. They knew this. So Korea's going to send in their entire army to try and take over as much land as possible, and basically set up a defensive line, which actually goes pretty well. They're able to take over about all of this until eventually the Chinese get there and, well, they set up a defensive line. India is going to deal with Pakistan, which is going to go pretty well. India will get an invasion into Pakistan from right here, begin to push over to this area. Hopefully, to capture Karachi, I think, the former capital of Pakistan. They also managed to take Islamabad, which definitely shocks Pakistan. Over here in Vietnam just cuts Laos in two and also jumps over and captures Vientiane. Laos falls pretty quickly. And here we see Vietnam attempt to invade China. Now, I'll be honest. Vietnam is not good. They're kind of screwed. Oh yeah, we also see India begin to invade China from the only place they really can. And the goal of this war is to take out China. But, you know, there's no Japan to really help. Korea is a country who's taken over a lot of land. Now, even though the Chinese army is here, Korea is insisting that they keep pushing forward. And this is costing them a lot of troops, but they are continuing to push forward. To this point, I could easily say that Korea is probably number 3 in the rankings. You know, they own all of Japan. They're buffed. They own the Philippines. And already South Korea in real life is number 5. I think South Korea has potential to become a top 3 power if, like, the USA or China collapses. Anyway, the last, offensive they will do is cut this piece of land off, taking it over. But at this point, China's here, and don't think I'm going to make this easy. Don't think I'm just going to make this, oh yeah, they're going to push in and take over all the land. Because China is going to push back, and they're going to push back hard. Now, Korea realizes that they don't really have an ally to help them. So they go around looking. They find nobody else. Mostly because Japan's gone. Philippines ain't joining the war. As much as they would want to, they're enemies with Korea and China. They're not going to join anybody. Myanmar is, yeah. Myanmar will be declared war on by India. That just happens, don't ask. Now, China's kind of mad, because, I'm sorry, Myanmar's a mess right now. But India will basically do a blitzkrieg into Myanmar. They basically just take it over. Now, they don't take it all over, because China sends in their troops to occupy land. Anyway, back over to Pakistan. India and Pakistan have now, they've hit a stalemate. This is all India's been able to do. India and Pakistan have hit a stalemate, and nukes are not involved. I don't think Asia would exist if these guys nuked. God. I don't think Asia would exist. Now, Korea is in a panic, mostly because this war is starting to not look so good, as Vietnam has been completely kicked out of China, and is now being invaded. And, they're beginning to lose hope, but not all hope is lost. Why? Well, because Tibet has just about from China, and that's gonna be a pain but for China. Tibet is declaring its independence, and not too long after that, we see another one come out. Xinjiang declares independence, and now, is this bad? Yes. Obviously, this is bad no matter what. These two rebellious groups declaring its independence from China. But the thing is, Pakistan's now separated from China, which India is going to take advantage on, basically ramping up its military invasion of it. And I'm sorry, Pakistani the people who are from Pakistan that watch my videos, but India's going to take out Pakistan. China was sending aid to them through that little border they have, but with China gone, it's not going to be so good. Vietnam begins to do guerrilla warfare, which China can't do anything about. And to be honest, China's just been completely kicked out of Myanmar. And at this point, China's like, okay, let's just peace out. Korea's now pushing back in, but they're using a lot of their military to do this. And at this point, China decides, you know what, we're leaving the war. China agrees to peace and just give up as much land as these countries want. As China will remain a country, but they're going to lose Tibet, Xinjiang, probably Manchuria. Pakistan's going to get hurt, but there's going to be allies. Myanmar's done for. Laos is done for. So let's take a look at this massive peace treaty. And the peace treaty, we can see that China does still exist, but very hurt. Korea will fully annex Manchuria, which is a huge gain for Korea. That is a lot of resource for land, but it also kind of puts Beijing in danger, because Beijing is literally right here. Vietnam fully annexes Laos. They lose no land from China. Myanmar loses a bit of land, but, you know, nothing too big. Pakistan loses some land. China loses some land to India. Xinjiang and Tibet are also independent. And Taiwan is fully recognised. So, the communist government in China does exist. Maybe not for long, because at this point, China is probably going to be on the road to another civil war. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for Korea's empire. It looks a lot like Japan, but it's not. It's Korea. I love how I went from calling them South Korea in the beginning of the video to calling them Korea. But I really enjoyed this video. Again, this is kind of a big mark in the Empire series, because we've done every major country. I think we've done every single top 10 power in the world. Yes, there's still Indonesia. I know that one's coming soon. That will probably be the next Empire video. But we're now at the point in the Empire series where it's kind of your guys' choice to pick whatever Empire videos you want to see. I'm still going to pick, but if I see an Empire video being requested, I'll probably do it. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I really enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.